Dun 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 dun. Good morning. That's hot. Today's episode is called just far cry from intimacy experience. So far cry from intimacy, experience. It is 8:17 on Thursday, 21 December 2023, and this is always season 1, episode 14. So the far cry from intimacy experience ties in to 4 different dates that I had that were bad dates. Not relationships, because I had a lot of bad relationships. Dates. So I could have talked to you all day about bad dates. I'm only going to discuss 4. Before you go on a date, as we all know, if it's a girl, you get all prettied up for the guy. Guy gets, dressed up for the girl, whatever, or whomever you go out with. And not all dates have to end up horrible and dark. This is a horrible and dark look. That's worse. Not all dates have to end up like that. Before you go out on a date, there's a lot of stuff that you probably do. You go through your wardrobe. You're like, hey, I met this girl at a gym. Maybe I'll wear my Italian Stallion shirt. Well, you could say maybe I met her at, let's say you met her at a museum. You can wear your Brachiosaurus shirt to show that you actually like dinosaurs if it's, a museum that has dinosaurs. Maybe you can wear your Twilight Zone shirt if you guys had a discussion, on the phone or whatever about television. One of the greatest programs ever made by Mr. Rod Serling. Then, as a guy, with me being a guy, there's other things that come into it. What should I wear? Well, if it's a hot, hot day, you'd want to go with shorts on, maybe, and a sneaker. If you just came from work, and maybe she met you at work, and you didn't have time to shower, or you made up some type of elaborate excuse of why you didn't have to shower and why you would do that, you show up in a work boot, or you can wear the very versatile Doc Martin, which I still wear today. All of these stories I'm about to tell you took place a long time ago. And I titled them each of them differently, kind of to support what took place. The first one I want to discuss is the car trunk murder date. A long time ago, I met this young lady at a restaurant. She was about 7 years younger than I am, give or take, maybe 8. Liked each other. I wasn't hitting on her as the waitress or anything like that. We just kind of had that eye contact. So I wrote my number on a napkin, handed her the napkin. It was just kind of like agreed by eye contact alone. I wasn't going to hit on her with the guys I was with. I was out with some friends. Gave her the number, talked on the phone, got along, had her over my apartment. This is a long time ago. My apartment was pretty cool. I had 180 plants outside on this little, like a sliding door, kind of like this one, but at the apartment, same type of blinds. We could go outside, had a plastic table with an umbrella, couple chairs, whole pile of plants, tiki torches. So I had her over for dinner, great conversation, things were going well, and then it got bad. She told me something. She goes, well, I'm starting to like you. She had a country accent, kind of like that. And I said, well, I kind of, I like you too. I have, good conversation, this and that. You're very attractive, very pretty. She told me my ex-boyfriend's getting out of jail. And I said, oh. I said, okay. I said, you guys still like each other? They didn't have a kid together or anything like that. She said that him and his friend tied a guy up, put him in a trunk of a car and lit the car on fire, and the car blew up. So they killed the guy. And he was getting out. Now, with her being as young as she was like 19 or 20. I was like 7, 8 years older than her. It didn't make much sense. Maybe this guy was a lot older than her or whatever. I mean, he did this horrible thing, but he's getting out of jail. How long could he have served? Or did he get out in just a handful of years? I don't know. So, long story short, we didn't get intimate or anything like that. Date was over. I had to wish her farewell. Have a great night. See you. I never answered her calls after that. I didn't answer the voicemails, anything. One afternoon, I get bang, 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 bang at the door. And I go up to the door and I look through the peephole and it's her. and she says, "I know you're in there, motherfucker. Open the door." She goes, "You don't want to answer my calls?" I was like, oh, crap. So when I leaned against the door, I made sure not to touch it. Because when you touch it, it moves. But maybe from where she's out there, she could see like light change on the outside of the peephole. I don't know. My car was parked outside, but I could still have not been home. You know what I mean? So my apartment, as I discussed, had a sliding door. I could hear her after she vanished from the peephole site. She goes through the laundry room, heading out to the little area, possibly to get access to my house. And she appeared to be alone. So I went over, my sliding door had been open. I shut the sliding door, locked it, and closed the blinds. And the blinds, as I said, were like these blinds. They sway. So I immediately shut them the best I could, let them sway, ran into the kitchen, ducked behind the counter. The counter was about this thick, and it was attached like a wall and then running to the other wall, and the refrigerator on the other side. And my couch wasn't very high. So between the top of the couch and the counter, there was a space. So she's looking at me through this outside, banging on the sliding door now. I'm looking at her like this, but not realizing, dumb me, that the top of my head could probably be seen. So she's saying, "Oh, I know you're in there." She couldn't see me, apparently, probably between the sway of the blinds. Yelling and screaming, da-da-da. Finally stopped. I guess she had left. I went outside afterwards, like a half hour later, her car wasn't there. I meet this other girl maybe a month later, and me and this girl really kind of hit it off. We ended up seeing each other for a while, maybe like a year, 8 months to a year, maybe a little over. I bring her to my apartment one day, and when we pull up, that girl's parked next to us, already there, with 2 other girls in the car. And she's giving me a look like this, and they're both giving me the look. So the girl I was with looked at me. She goes, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I said, "No." She goes, "Is that a girl you had a one-night stand with?" I said, "No." And she goes, "Okay." She goes, you think there's going to be trouble?" I said, "No." I got out of the car, walked around to her side, told her to walk in front of me, and I walked in. And I was thinking, when I come out, that my windshield wipers would be broken, car, tires flat, scratches in the car. Nothing like that happened. Never saw her again. Very lucky. The second one I want to discuss is the around the block date. Met this girl at a laundromat, kind of giving each other the look. I tried to give her some Clint Eastwood squints. I don't know how well it worked. But she kind of initiated it. She goes, "Oh, you washing clothes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm washing clothes." Kind of obvious, but I guess it was her way of, kind of initiating conversation. So we exchanged numbers, talked on the phone. Everything seemed normal. Good-looking girl. Picked her up at her house. From the time I picked this girl up, she got in the car, and she goes, "I thought you'd have a better car than this." And I said, "I really like this car." It was a 1987 Nissan 200SX. I've mentioned it in other episodes. I love that car. Apparently she thought it was a piece of junk. Now this is a long time ago. This isn't much after 1987. Maybe, 10 years. It was probably 1996, 97, 98, give or take. So I love the car. The car was a great car. Had it for 7 years, had an accident. That's another story. But she gets in the car, made fun of my hair. My hair always looked the same. I had high and tight. She said my haircut was crooked. Didn't look the same as it did at the laundromat. Driving down the street, made fun of my shoes, made fun of my pants. We get around the corner, heading to where I was going to take her out to eat. Excuse me. And there's another right that you could take, which would circle all the way back around to her house, which is what I'm getting at. I'm getting ready to go to the restaurant, and then she goes, "Where'd you say you went to college?" And I told her, and she goes, "God, why would you go there? It's such a shitty school." So now I'm going down the other street, still staying calm, trying to change the mood, because maybe she was joking and I didn't catch the joke. I drive all the way back around. She started on something else. I can't remember what it was. My accent. It was my accent. I pull up in front of her house, and I said, maybe we should just end things right here before it goes any further. She goes crazy. "Oh, you dropped me off at home. You're an asshole, and I always knew you were a pussy." And I just met this girl at the laundromat, maybe a day or two before. So she gets out of the car, make sure the door closes. She's standing out there. She's only been out of her house like 7 or 8 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm going up the road, and I hear ka-tunk on the back of my car. Well, my back of my car had like a little rack on the trunk. Lucky it didn't hit the physical car or the window. She must have thrown a rock like this big. And she had a good arm, because I was out there. I'd already driven away, you figure 10, 15 miles an hour. From the time she was standing there, she had to find the rock, and I didn't notice any rocks out there, and throw that rock. And she threw it with, good distance. It hit that thing and dented it. And all I did is kind of put on the brake lights, and she was standing there. So I wasn't about to go back around the block or back up and fight with her, because we're family. Who knows? I wouldn't gonna tell her parents. They'll probably tell you to go to hell if she's acting like that. Or she might have hit me with a rock. So I just let it go and I never saw her again. So that was a terrible date. The third date is leftover din-din date. Went out with this girl, met her at the bank. She didn't work at the bank, but she was in banking. Turned around, saw her, and I looked again, and I was in uniform, military uniform, and she said hi, and I said hi. She was beautiful. I thought she was a beautiful girl. We talked on the phone, a lot like the other one, great conversation, a lot in common. She liked paranormal, liked animals, liked exercise, liked traveling, real funny, down to earth. She picked me up in a BMW at my condominium to take me out. Had her inside. I have a bathroom upstairs too in that place. And I told her, I said, I'm going to run upstairs, use the bathroom. I'm going to do something real quick outside of the bathroom. But I have to do something, use the bathroom, and I'll be right back down. Well, my uniform was on the table and a bunch of papers that were under something heavy. Not like a rock or anything, just under like a binder. So to see what was under the binder, you'd have to move the binder to see the papers. So when I come downstairs, she goes, you're in the, I didn't notice your rank or something like that in the bank. You're a sergeant first class. And I said, yeah. And she goes, my dad retired as a sergeant first class. She goes, oh, you made rank quick. You're a pretty young guy. And I said, yeah. So that was about the end of that. So we're in the restaurant. Things are still going well. And she starts talking about this. This is equal. She goes, I'm glad that we're equal. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, you probably make what, like, she said a dollar amount. And I said, oh, how'd you come up with that figure? She goes, well, you had it on your table. It was like a pay statement. And I was like, that was under a binder, I was thinking. I didn't say that to her, but she had to have moved it to see it, which kind of felt weird. So we're sitting there talking, and she goes, I like to be out with people that make, the same money or more. And she was like, I wouldn't like date somebody who like worked at a gas station or a convenience store. And I said, why? And she goes, well, they're beneath me. Wouldn't they be beneath you? And I said, not really. I said, the girl who works at the gas station, I asked her out twice, and she said no. She goes, really? She was like, you could see the look in her face. She was actually disgusted, which I found weird. So on the way home, she had leftovers. I'm holding her leftovers. She didn't even want to keep the leftovers. And there was a dog on the street, not injured, just, looked like his leg had been amputated maybe years ago. But he's, not hobbling, just kind of walking on three legs and a little bit of a leg. And he had a collar on, so he must have belonged to somebody. So he's kind of looking at the car when we're going up the road. And I said, he said, pull over here, pull over. She pulls over. And I said, can I have your leftovers? She's like, yeah, okay. She had no bones in there or anything like that. It was just, meat, potato, and like some vegetables. And I tore the lid off and I gave the dog the food. He came right over and rolled his lip up at me. And I told him, I said, I'm trying to feed you. I said, don't you roll your lip up at me like that. And I was like talking to him like a baby, and he wagged his tail. And he was probably like 8 years old, 7 years old. Looked like he was heading somewhere, and he looked like he was well taken care of. So I gave him the food, didn't try to pet him, just gave him the food, got back in the car. Now we're close to my condo. And she goes, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why would you do something like that? And I didn't say anything. I said, do me a favor. I said, can you pull in there where I live? She goes, yeah, sure. She pulls in, and where you pulled into my place, it's like a road, and then my condo unit was off to the left up a little hill. I said, I hope you drive safe going home and take care. I don't want to, go further with this date. Because at the time I was actually looking for someone to date rather than, just hanging out. And I got out of the car. She called me every name under the sun. You effing this, you that. And I lowered my standards to go out with you. I don't know why I did that. And I'm walking up to the house, and my neighbor comes out, a female neighbor at the time and her husband, but she comes out and she's laughing. She goes, oh, how'd your date go? Like that. And I said, oh, God. So I go in, and when I shut the door, that girl had already turned her car around, and she tooted 3 times and yelled out, fuck you, like that. I was like, what a classless person. I was like, oh, my God. So, you know what I mean? I was just like blown away. So I didn't go out again for a while after that. The third one I want to talk about is far from the photo date. I had met a girl on online dating. And, we were doing the talking thing, sending a few pictures here and there. Pretty girl, long brown hair, kind of like a Kate Beckinsale, Rona Mitra, Alyssa Milano type of look, which I like. And nice looking girl, you know what I mean? So we're talking back and forth. Picture looked a little old. I was thinking it wasn't new. It had to be a couple of years old, 3 or 4 years old. That's fine, you know what I mean? She wanted to meet, and I said, well, let's meet in a public place. Is that okay? She goes, oh, that'd be great. So, the day came. We're ready to meet. We met at a fancy coffee shop. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember. It's a place here called Garden City, and there's a kind of like an expensive, not expensive, but a coffee shop that I can't remember the name right now. But we went there to meet. They were closing just for the day. There was 3 girls working in there. I opened the door, and the girl says, "Oh, we're closing." And I said, "Could I just sit inside until you close? I'm supposed to be meeting somebody here for a blind date." And she said, "Okay, cool." So I'm sitting inside, and then here's the glass of the store, and I get of the coffee shop, and I turn and look, and this lady's like waving like that. She goes, like Jason. She mouthed Jason. She had a tight curly perm, about this tall, and 20 to 25 years older than I was. Now I was in my 30s, so I look over at the girls, and they're like that, and I said, "Thanks, for letting me stay here." And I walk outside, and I look at her, and she goes, "Not what you were expecting, huh?" I walked to my truck, I drove home and called my friend in Florida, and he had a good laugh about it. He goes, "Oh my God, it's hilarious." I didn't think it was that funny, but when I got home, I had an email from her that said sorry on the same website. I mean, why would you lead somebody on like that? You know what I mean? I sent you a picture that was like a day or 2 old. She sends me a picture from decades ago. So that went bad. So the moral of the story is, and what I want to get at is, these are 4 bad dates that I had, okay? But I learned a lot from them. To ask more questions, to, kind of know what you're looking for, so on and so forth. But it might have been bad dates for them too. Because, not only am I still talking about these all these years later, and they all happened at different times, different states, different times, different places, different people, different age groups, they probably had a bad date too. And it's kind of funny. So maybe there's a story about, oh, this guy I went out with is circling around somewhere, and wherever it may be circling around. But I just thought it'd be kind of funny. It'd be a different type of Jason's Disturbing Experience today. Always Season 1, Episode 14. And once again, the title is Far Cry from Intimacy Experience. If you guys laughed at this episode, I hope you found it humorous and you learned something from it. But I'd like to dedicate it to 2 friends of mine, Nick and Nicole. They recently lost their little cat named Burt Reynolds. He was the cutest little guy. He passed away. It's always unfortunate when you lose a pet or a loved one, but to lose a pet before a holiday is really rough. So my heart and my girlfriend's heart goes out to you guys. We're always here for you. And, I understand, because as everybody out there knows who watches my YouTube channel, I lost my baby boy, Lukey Dookie. He was my pit lab, and he died Friday, April 22nd, 2016. And I still get broken up talking about him today, and it's been 7 years. Hope you guys, Nick and Nicole, hope you guys pull through. I know you will, but, just try to stay positive. I know it's terrible. And for everybody else out there, including Nick and Nicole, I want to wish you guys, best Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope to have, more episodes in 2024.